everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Kevin's Garage, my ongoing journey as a car building novice to build my Factory 5 Roadster. So what are we doing this week? Well, this week it's all about aluminum. So we're going to finish up as much as we can the driver's footbox. And then we've got all of these little pieces of aluminum, so I'll show you where they go and I'll tidy all of those up as well. And depending on how that goes and if we have time, we'll move on to something far more exciting. We'll do the sort of dry fit of the two roll bars. All right, so without further ado, let's start playing with some aluminum. Okay, so the first two pieces of aluminum we're going to do are in the trunk. Just the one above where the fuel pump is, and then the other one for the sending unit. So I just wanted to get them sort of as central as I sort of could without going too crazy. So all I did is I just marked a central line in each direction. So I've just got some general guide lines, because what's nice is the way that the rivet holes are placed. They are central. So what I can do is I can just pop it there. That looks pretty good. And then mark out, maybe just mark out a couple of the holes that are opposite. And then I can drill those two holes, and then I can put some clecos in, and then I can mark and drill the rest. So you'll see here the holes are pretty close to the edge, and I've seen some builds where they screwed these down, and I was probably thinking the same thing, but then I thought, no, I'll only mess it up, so I'll just put the standard rivets in. If I need to take it out sometime in the future, that's fine, but I wouldn't have thought that's very likely. The only maybe concession I will make is maybe not use as much silicone as I would normally do, just in case I do have to take these off at any stage. So I'll follow exactly the same process. So I will drill a couple of holes, cleco, then drill all the other holes, then obviously put on the silicone, and then rivet it in place. So let me just do both of those, and then we'll come back and take a quick look. Okay, if we take a look on Kevin Cam, we can see that they both are nicely lined up and finished off and all secure. All right, off to the next piece. Okay, so next up we have the little hole in the transmission tunnel. So you've got this little piece here which just fits on the bottom. So I'll just follow the same process, try and get it in close to the middle as possible. Then drill a couple of holes, put a couple of the clecos in, and then obviously drill the rest, silicone and rivet. All right, let's get going. Okay, so we take a look on Kevin Cam. There it is, nice and neat and tidy. All right, let's go now to the driver's footbox. Okay, so next up is this little piece here, which I'm just going to fit under there, which will go like that, and then just mark behind. So I can cut that to size, so that should fit perfectly. Okay, so there you have it, nice and neat, just following our usual process. So drill, cleco, then drill all the holes, take off, make sure you put the silicone on, re-cleco, and then rivet, and there it is. Okay, let's move on to the footbox itself. Right, so next up we are finishing off the driver's footbox, and this was probably the piece of aluminum which I had the most problems with when the car was initially delivered, because there's a few sort of gaps and it's sort of bulging a little bit, so I'm going to have to trim a few pieces off. So I think what I'm going to do is that this side doesn't seem too bad, so I'm going to prepare and drill the holes and get this piece aligned, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on that piece over there. So I'm going to start on this and then work on this piece, because I'm going to definitely have to trim some of these corners off. So let's sort of break it apart and let's have a look at what I'm going to do. So I think now I've taken the clecos out of this side. I think you can see, I don't know whether you can or not, but it's sort of bulging underneath here. So it looks like this is just a little too large. So I'm going to just nibble off a little bit on the corners here to see if I can get it just to fit a little better. So I'm going to do that first, then I'll show you what that looks like. Right, so here's what I've decided to do, and what I've done is I've trimmed a little bit off here, I've trimmed a little bit off here, and a little bit off here, and now it fits quite well, so I'll show you that in a second. So now I'm going to fit this piece. I'm going to prepare it. What I've decided to do is I'm going to drill these holes. I'm not going to drill those, but I'm going to drill just one in the corner which fits outside of where the plate goes over the top. Then I'm going to set this in position just with this one bolt, and that will provide then the sort of solid foundation that I can then put the other piece on. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to, I say, drill the holes, cleco, get it set, then I'm going to put the silicone in and then just connect it along here and one hole there, and then I'm ready for the next piece. Right, so let's do that. Okay, so let's take a quick look on Kevin Cam to see how the driver's footbox has come out. I think the front looks pretty neat, and I think generally I'm pretty pleased with this side. I did have a few challenges in terms of when it arrived, so not too bad. The other side is a bit more of a challenge. I think the middle's fine. It's separated a bit at the back, so I can fill that with a bit more silicone. This corner is a bit problematic down here, but it always was, and then the side is fine. So again, you know, I can finish that off with a little bit more silicone. We've got the extra cover to go on. I'm going to leave that off for now, and then I'll just fasten that down with some stainless screws. All right, so that's it. Let's move on now to the other side of the car, and there's a small piece of aluminum over there to finish off the firewall. Okay, so the next piece we are working on is the extension to the firewall, which goes here. So you can see it's got a hole already in it where we can pass through various cables. What I'm going to do is, there's also this little piece here which is designed to cover over it if you don't need it. So what I'm going to do is actually put a 1 1/4 inch hole through there with another grommet, so I can use it for, you know, I've just got a couple of things I need to pass through. I don't need all of this space. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to drill that hole first, then I'm going to attach that to here with the hole in, and then put the whole thing back onto the firewall. All right, so let's do that. Okay, so let's take a quick look at Kevin Cam so you can see the firewall extension is good, is in place. Then you've got the little patch that we put on, plus we've got the, I think it's 1 1/4, little bit more hole, plenty of room for the computer wire, and 1 or 2 other wires for the dash. Quick look round the back. You can see everything looks good, nice and neat. All right, so let's move on to the next subject. So every day when you're making a Factory 5 Roadster, it's very exciting because you get to open boxes. So let's see what's in the box today. All right, so now I'll just show you part of it. We're going to move on and start to fit the roll bars. So I've gone for a driver's side and a passenger side. I've gone with the chrome because I liked that sort of traditional look. And you may have noticed so far everything on the car is either black or grey chrome in colour. So that's what we're going to be doing. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we do is to just take the back piece and gently push it down. I'm using the gloves because I'm trying to avoid getting as many fingerprints as possible on the chrome. All right, so let's find the hoop. Okay, so here's the hoop. So what it suggests for the hoop is just to sort of pull it out a little is sort of gently sort of jig it around a little till it gets fairly close, and then you're in a position to just try to join these two together. Little bit of jigging. I think that's fairly close. Give it a little gentle tap. Right. So what you'll find is that the two pieces go down, and then the arm at the back is just up a little, and you should have a slight back, maybe sort of 5 or so degrees just back. So just jig it around till it feels nice and solid, and I think that's pretty good. Right, now let's focus on drilling the holes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've got 4 bolts to put in, and the first one is in the side. So what I decided to do was to go about 1 inch up on the chrome and try and go in at sort of a 90-degree angle, so that A, it's easy to drill, and B, I should be able to get access to actually put the bolt through and connect it once the body is on. So that's the plan. So I'm going to start small and start with a 1/8 drill bit, and then I'm going to build up slowly, because clearly you're going through the chrome on both sides, and then you're going through the steel sort of strut as well. So I think this is slow and careful. So I'm just going to start it, and then I'll sort of show you about halfway through. Okay, so the 1/8 went through pretty well. So let me now just try the 3/16, see how we get on here. All right, you probably thought that was pretty easy, and it was, because I already just drilled that, but I said 3/8 and not 3/16, so I just thought I'd do it again. Okay, and now this is the actual size of hole that you need. This is the 5/16, so I'm just going to be really careful with this one. Okay, there we are. Okay, so that seemed to have gone reasonably well. So let me just see if I can get the bolt through. Okay. Not too tight for now. Just to basically stop it slipping. Okay, so that's what it should look like. So right, so I'm going to do the other one over there, and maybe the bottom one here, and then I'll come back and share this one, because I think this one's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, because clearly we're putting it in at an angle. All right, so let's come back and show that one in a minute. So the next piece is definitely a bit more of a challenge. So I've got the 2 bolts in successfully at the bottom. What you probably can't see down here is I've got a clamp holding this, so this is absolutely flush, because if you remember, when I put this together originally, you're sort of pushing this down, but you're pushing this up as well, so you're lifting it off the bottom a little. Then the collar here inside is only about 7/8 deep, so you could sort of halve that in terms of the bolt. So I'm going in at 7/16. What I'm also doing is I'm drilling down at around 30 degrees, but I'm also not drilling, so I'm drilling sort of at an angle this way as well, so you're off center to the right and you're facing down. So that's the plan. Let's see how it goes. So I'll just drill the pilot hole and just try and make it sort of slow and neat, and then I'll finish it up. Yeah, it's looking about right. Let's keep going. So you can see you definitely have to exert some force, but I think it's more important to be accurate than to be quick here. Let's finish it off. Okay, so I've broken through the first part. So then I think it's a great opportunity to sort of reflect to make sure that you've got your drill at the sort of right angle to where you want to come out. I think we're pretty good there, so let's just finish it off. Okay, looks pretty clean. Okay, so there you have it. We're in, but I would say take extreme care with this one. So I managed to break 2 drill bits, which is not great. Anyway, but we're good. But taking it nice and slow, nice and steady, and you do end up with a nice, neat finish. But definitely this is tougher than the other 2. So really take care, plan it out. Make sure you've got a nice solid indentation before you start with the first drill, and you should be fine. All right, let's just finish them off, and then I'll show you what they all look like at the end. Okay, so the good news is that we are in. We have both of the roll bars installed, but let me just show you via Kevin Cam and just talk through some of the lessons. So the driver one actually went in pretty straightforward. You can see I put my bolts in sideways, one from the middle as well. They were pretty straightforward. What I would say is if you have the cubby kit, you can actually fit, and that's quite useful to drill in sideways. If you don't have the cubby kit, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a challenge. In which case, if I didn't have the cubby kit, I probably would have preferred the back panel not to be there. But anyway, that went fine. I'll just talk about this technique, which this is quite interesting. So I decided to put this bolt in, if you can sort of see, at a little bit of an angle, sort of heading down and a little bit to the right, so that it would sort of naturally match the flow of the tube. The other thing which is interesting is how you install it is that you put this one in first, then what you do is you add this, and don't put it all the way down, and get it as close as you can to here. And then what you have to do with this is to push this up. So you push this tube up so that they marry there. And when they marry there, then you make sure that these are both down, and this one down here will end up being, oh, there you can see, will end up being up a little. So that's where you have to put a clamp on this to hold it. So when that is held, what I did then is I did this one first, this one second, this one, which is definitely the most difficult. So really take care with this, because this is the thickest part of the bar, and this is where I broke on both of them. I broke one of my drills. In fact, one of them hit me right in the face. So make sure you're wearing your safety glasses for this one, because that one is a little tricky. And again, I used 3 or 4 drills of different sizes. So I started with all of them with the 1/8. Then I moved on to 3/16 and then 5/16. Sometimes I went a little smaller than 3/16, and then move to maybe 1/4 before moving up to 5/16. So really take your time and start lower down. When I moved over to this side, this was definitely more of a challenge. And if you look here, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just not quite aligned. And the reason being is that this bar was much tighter in terms of the fit. That wouldn't fit initially. And this was just slightly at the wrong angle. So what I did is I used a grinder here just to take out as much as I could from inside here and inside at the bottom. And that certainly made it easier. You can tell if you look around the side, it's flush here, but not quite here, which means there's something slightly off in terms of the angle, and you really can't force it. So I decided that that was the optimal view. When you take a step back, you really can't tell, and I think they both look very nice. So really the secret is just take your time, nice and slow drill speed, lots of different bits of different sizes. Make sure you center punch multiple times to get a really good lock before you start with the 8th drill bit, and then I think you'll be absolutely fine. So I'm very pleased with how they came out overall, because bear in mind you've got to take these out as well, so they can't be too firmly in place, and these definitely move, so that's good. They're just on now to make sure they're fitted, and then clearly you'll put them on when you've got the body on later. All right, so let's just summarize the whole thing. Okay, so that's it for this week's edition of Kevin's Garage. I think we had a productive week. We've finished the aluminum on the driver's footbox. We finished some of those other small pieces of aluminum in the trunk and with the firewall and around the transmission tunnel. So that's all good. And of course, then we spent the last couple of days, it seems like, but a few hours certainly today, putting together the roll bars. And I think again, with all of these things, just attention to detail, patience and planning, and you'll get a great result. All right, let me just talk about the tool of the week, and it's over here. So let me just turn it off. Hopefully you'll have noticed that when I'm under the car or working on certain things, you'll see the lighting has improved. But I think for working, I've just got a couple of Husky lights. I've got this one here on a stand. I've got a smaller one that you can put under the car in different positions. And I think great lighting is really important. I'm sure, like me, many of you are working into the evening, building your cars and making sure that you can see what you're doing, particularly from a health and safety perspective, is important. So I know these weren't expensive. I think I actually bought these in the sale, and I think they were half price, maybe 18 months ago now. So look out for the lights. You can always get a good deal. All right, so that's it for this week. Hopefully you're still enjoying this novice's journey. We certainly learned a few things this week as well. Next week we're actually moving on, and it's a big week. We are going to put in or connect the Holley sniper system, because it's preventing me from finishing the dash and doing a number of other things. So that's what we're going to be working on. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Take care now.